Hi crafters, it's Marianne from MA Designs. Welcome back to my channel. I've made another video. If you watched my first video, you'll see the hint about making this video about what to do with these scraps. So in the last video, I used a big sheet of watercolour card in these beautiful colours to make a series of different cards. And today I'm going to use those scraps. I'm going to cut geometric shapes using the stacked tiles triangles from Holtz at Sizzix. And I'm going to stamp a sentiment in roughly matching colours using the Distress Oxide inks, Salty Ocean and Twisted Citron. So in this pack of dies you get 25 dies, 5 each of 5 sizes. So it's really handy that 5 of them are identical. So instead of having to cut out 100 pieces of a triangular card, you can cut out 100 pieces but 5 at a time, so just 20. So it makes it significantly faster. Still fairly time consuming, but much faster than cutting them out one at a time, and certainly much more accurate than if you were to cut them by hand or using a trimmer. It makes it much easier to line up afterwards when you see the pattern that we're going to build at the end. So I'll just whiz through this die cutting process. I just cut as many as I can fit of the blue and the green scraps, and then I've also got a scrap of Rainbow Mirror, and I cut a few out of Rainbow Mirror too because I think it'll look really nice having a metallic element to the card. So now I've got all of these pieces cut, and I've cut a couple of the larger ones as well in the Rainbow Mirror, and I just matte one green and one blue triangle onto those later on. So we're going to make our sentiment next. I'm using this as a topper because the person this card's aimed for doesn't really have a particular hobby. So I just make the sentiment the focal point and just use, a pattern for the background. So I'm going to use a happy birthday stamp from the Birthday Wishes stamp set from Visible Image, and a scrap of card that I die cut in my last crafting session and also didn't end up using. So using the Salty Ocean ink, I'm going to line up the stamp in my stamping platform using the grid on the back and the grid at the front to make sure that's perfectly straight. And I'm going to use Salty Ocean to stamp the sentiment in blue. So I've got Happy Birthday in blue, and then I stamp there's like a background accent stamp that comes in the set with stars and dots and swirls, and I'm going to use that with the Twisted Citron, the green ink, just to stamp a few times around the edge, roughly to make a frame. It's not measured, it's not particularly accurate, but it just ties in both the colours in the background. And there you can see the finished topper. So then onto the background, I'm going to use the glue from Tonic. This is their liquid glue. It's called Deluxe Adhesive from Nuvo, Tonic. It comes in with a fairly fine tip, as standard on the bottle. You can buy precision tips if you want it extra fine for gluing things like sentiments, but for these triangles I find that the regular tip is absolutely fine enough. So I haven't flipped over these triangles, not all of them. I've just chucked them on the desk as they are. I don't want to be too aware of which colour I'm placing where. I'm trying to be random. I don't want a whole chunk of the metallic together, but the blue and the green, you can see there I've got quite a few green ones together. That's fine. I feel like there's enough variation in the watercolour background anyway that they're not identical, and it is supposed to look sort of random. So I've got to this stage now. I've got a few gaps, but I'm just going to trim off these edges so I can really see where I am and how many more I've got to do. Also, some of these that I'm trimming off I can use to fill in the tiny gaps around the edges. So you can see there I'm just picking up those offcuts and just gluing them tiny pieces around the edge. I'm going to leave those to dry for a while because if I try to cut them off now it could be a mess. So I've got, like I say, those couple of slightly larger triangles just in the next size up, and I've matted one green and one blue triangle onto those just to add an extra layer. I'm matting the sentiment square again onto more of the Rainbow Mirror because it was getting lost on the background when it was just white, so I've added that metallic frame. And I'm using some foam tape here. This is just cheap foam tape from High Street. I think I'll have probably bought it from the works. It's much quicker than picking off all the tiny little squares, so I do like using my foam tape for the bigger areas. Now these tiny triangles have had time to dry, I'll just go around and trim those off and see the finished background. You'll see a massive blue blob of glue on my card right here, but just ignore that. It'll be fine when it's dry. No one will care. So just trimming all of these off, and there you go, you see the finished background there. Those scraps I'm not going to bother keeping, I'll just bin those. There's only so much we need to keep. So I pop the sentiment square there, roughly 1/3 of the way down, and with the foam tape not being right to the edges, there's a little bit of room underneath, so I can just glue these 2 triangles and tuck them under slightly, and there is the finished card. Look at that beautiful shine, look how it ties in with the blue and the green. You could make this in any other colours, just use whatever scraps you have. Hope you liked that card, give us a thumbs up if you did, and thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!